He looks all mangy.
He's fucked up, dude.
That's tough.
Skin Peeler Productions presents.
Half dog, half seal. All bullshit.
Welcome back to the Texas Trifecta Podcast. I am Scrody Johnson, and this is my co-host here, Dr. Donald Rammer Esquire, also a lawyer, so he can, he can service all needs. All needs.
And we do have a wonderful guest on today. Why don't you introduce yourself there?
Yes, I am Ten-Toed Dan. Okay, if you can add, that was 5 and 5.
Versus some, Marilyn Monroe had 11 toes, they say.
Yeah, and you remember Princess Bride, there was the 6-fingered man,
That is, all right, no shit.
Yeah.
Them girls out there, they don't know that shit.
Already pulling them out.
Oh, yeah.
I still remember that nasty-looking leather glove he was wearing, and, his hands are all wiggling around, 6 fingers. Nasty.
Did he have an extra finger on the glove?
Oh, yeah.
So somebody custom made him that 6-finger glove?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's like the opposite of a flipper baby, your parents or brother and sister, you have flipper babies, like Penguin.
No,
okay.
I don't. I don't know that.
Was that like a sock puppet thing?
Yeah, like a sock puppet,
All right.
Look
all
like
right.
this.
I'm feeling that.
Yeah, like flipper
It
baby.
brought me back a little bit.
It brings me to the Batman movie with the Penguin.
That's what I'm saying. Like he was a flipper baby. They were nobility.
Spock with the fucking. Can you do that?
He was always spocking.
Anyways, what do you got for us today, Scrody?
First today is what do y'all guys want to talk about? You always want to talk about weird shit? You always want to talk about what's in the news today? What do y'all guys want to hear?
I don't know. What do you think?
What do y'all think?
Five-finger Dan.
Yeah, you.
10-Toed Dan.
10-Toed Dan.
Thank you. And
Diaz Daniel.
I want to hear what you prepared, but one thing that I do want to talk about.
We don't prepare shit over here, dude.
Fair enough. So you're much like myself. Improv guys.
Yeah.
I respect that. There was a recent discovery under the pyramid in Giza, Khafre. So I want to talk about that.
Well, can you give us some insights on that? I like that.
I don't really know that much about it, besides there was like some sort of LiDAR plane that flew over it. They could only do one pass because the government wouldn't let them go back.
Yeah, we know why that is.
Yeah, but anyways, they found, I think it was like 8 pillars that go really far into the ground, into these big boxes, and we don't know what they're filled with.
And how far, they're like, how far are they down?
Oh, God, I can't even say.
It's like 3 kilometers or something.
They're really far down. I don't want to misquote that, but...
Well,
allegedly,
they've had some people speculate. They've speculated that they're like coils, for a battery system for lighting.
Well, I mean, it looks pretty obvious.
You got the pillar, and then you've got liquid that works kind of like an old battery did in the 1800s, where you got a nail and acid and a coil.
Doesn't that work in the normal batteries now?
Well, sort of, kind of.
The one in my truck does, right?
But they're this big now. The old batteries were this big. They were literally jars.
Oh, wow.
So they use them for lanterns and things, and but they're speculating it's either that or there's giant spiral staircases going down to the bottom. And one guy I watched on a podcast said
it's the fucking lizard people, dude. They're going down to the chamber of the lizard people.
Nancy Pelosi.
Nice.
Nancy Pelosi.
Supposedly. What did you read?
Well, I was watching a YouTuber. Well, he's more of a TikTok, Instagram guy. His name's Baseforge, and he's actually based out of Austin, Texas. This guy's
shit.
Super dope. He's got some really good information always coming out. Baseforge, love you. You're probably not watching this.
Oh, you will be. Maybe. Depends on what your humor is.
But yeah, so I was watching one of his videos on some of the leaked stuff, and I guess in the next couple of days they're supposed to release something officially.
You know what I don't understand is why don't they allow people to come in if it's not actually messing with the structure or anything Like if they're doing like stuff like with technology, why don't they let them just do it? Anyways?
Because it's tombs. Partially, they're like really.
So shooting
respectful
lidar
of
in
their
a
dead.
tomb is going to hurt it from
allegedly.
10,000 years
Allegedly,
ago?
that was like the
tombs.
arguments about
Sure.
about them looking at the mummies and things going in there. They were really pissed off about that. Like,
Oh, because they're maybe opening tombs and like having air come in there. I understand all that, but when you're shooting a fucking laser beam or like when you can see it without opening like anything, why wouldn't you like pursue that a little bit more? Instead of.
they're using basically like the technology used to find like oil pockets, correct?
Yeah,
Like,
well, lidar, not
Yeah,
two
it's like
sticks
a
or
lidar
one
style.
stick. What was the water stick?
that's for
The water stick.
finding water. Yeah.
So they're getting those LiDAR images, and then they're making 3D renderings of...
Yeah, I saw the
That
3D
is
renderings.
very
and
interesting.
It's really cool. Oh, they also found 5 chambers that are shaped just like the King's Chamber.
So you're saying the King's Chamber is bullshit?
No,
Because
I don't know.
there's 5 kings?
Well,
There's only one king,
I
and
don't
it's
know
Jesus
what they
Christ,
are.
okay? There's only one king.
Fair enough. I'm not going to argue.
But you know what I'm saying, though? But
thought it
that's
was
weird.
King
So
Charles.
they found 5 other chambers, the same exact size and
Well,
same
it's
thing
baby.
as the King's Chamber.
I could just see a pink Cadillac in my head. I'm sorry. Oh, like a pop collar. Dying on a toilet in L.A. No, that was
Nashville.
Vegas. Nashville? Where was it?
Graceland.
It's Brownsville for all I know.
I've heard that
No
they.
on the toilet.
shit.
Yeah, he died taking a dump.
Yeah.
Who?
Elvis.
Elvis.
Oh.
We're talking about the king, baby.
Oh, the king. Right,
Well,
right.
king, you know.
There's only one king.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, there's a crazy story I heard about Elvis, and it involved Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper told this story where
Love
I think
Alice
it was Mae West was there with him. He said this is like the early '70s, and he said they were sitting there talking to Elvis, and he said, "Why don't you take this gun out of my hand, boy?" And he goes, he's holding like a 38 revolver, like a Smith & Wesson 38 revolver, and he goes over there, he grabs and Alice Cooper gets the gun from him, and she goes, and he said, Mae West nudges him and says, "Why didn't you just shoot the fat bastard?"
Damn.
Oh, man. So that must have been in his later years, you know?
Yeah, it was-
Pills and Vegas shows daily.
Well, they say that he gained a lot of weight because of he was trying to keep the weight off, and like one of the old diets is you would just sleep when you were hungry. And so they gave him a sleeping pill so he would sleep rather than eat, because Elvis had an eating problem because of anxiety.
So just put him out of society.
So he would just sleep instead
fucked up.
and just
And then
do
they
pills.
bitch at him like he's not making any
Yeah.
money because he's sleeping too much.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then he gained a bunch of weight.
And then he took a poop and died.
And he took a poop.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's not the way you want to be remembered.
I mean, you don't want to be remembered like, what is it, Mama Cass? She choked on it wasn't a ham sandwich. They say it was a peanut butter sandwich.
Oof. That's tough.
She choked on a peanut butter sandwich. She died of a heart attack.
Damn.
Must have been some thick peanut butter.
Right? It's like giving it to your dog.
We don't want to know. We don't want to know about your Saturday evening, sir.
Unless it has to do with your mustache, you know, because that is
damn
an
right.
exceptional mustache, sir.
The rammer mustache.
But yeah.
Yeah, so what's on your radar over there?
Well, me and Dr. Remmer here, we watched a piece earlier about a guy that had built a car in his basement or in his garage, basically, that got 100 miles per gallon.
Diesel.
Oh,
Diesel.
okay.
And he was talking, and he had been talking about
Check this shit.
basically a
It's fucking hilarious.
2000s Volkswagen Jetta motor. And
Guess what it does 0 to 60?
5 seconds.
100 miles a gallon.
Yeah. And
You fill he got a 5-gallon tank on the damn car, dude.
Wow.
and it
You
could
put a
hold bigger
25-gallon
thing.
tank or 50-gallon tank on that car, you drive from L.A. to New York.
Cannonball run. Let's go.
Let's go.
But what we were talking, me and him were kind of discussing about, because the guy on there was basically talking about how like government regulation has basically killed innovation in the automotive industry, which we used to have things like turbines, and we had like self-leveling suspension in the 50s that was like didn't run on electronics whatsoever, worked off of hydraulics. It would turn torsion bars, which are basically springs that
And it
twin,
wouldn't break.
and it would lower it down and raise it back up, because torsion bars are amazing.
So this guy comes out on this podcast, and he's like, the dude's asking him. He goes, well, why aren't people beating your door down to like sell this thing and like build a manufacturing and all this? And then he goes into, he's like, well, it's all, industry and narcissism and people. He couldn't even get people to come to his house from like car magazines and shit to like interview him, because this would be like a top thing. Imagine buying a car, and plus the car was fucking $20,000. That's fucked up. $20,000, 100 miles, 100 miles per gallon.
Can you buy one from? Or I want to buy one
right now. Like everybody would buy that shit, right? And it's crazy because it's like, he's out and he's going on these podcasts. He wasn't even doing this. He was just building it for himself, but there's no interest. There's no interest in any of this shit because
from the the automotive industry, obviously, which is extremely controlled.
You know what they told that dude? Diesel is dead.
It's not dead.
What do you mean? Everything runs on diesel. Everything. Ships. Everything transportation-wise runs on diesel.
It's never going to go anywhere. And actually, there's this guy, Nature Jab, on Instagram that's making biodiesel out of plastic.
Right. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So cool.
And then you buy that car and you put that in there.
You could use, like, waste fat from, you can get waste fat and stuff left over from, like, rendering fat for, like, for making tallow and stuff, too. The waste, you can use all these French fry places. They used to do the biodiesel.
Yeah, everybody's car will smell like McDonald's and shit driving down the street, which is fine with me. Just don't eat it, but I'll smell it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's just like basically what they delved into was the fact that the regulations with because they recently rolled back cafe standards because the Supreme Court ruled that a government agency cannot make legislation.
That's very in depth of shit that I don't understand.
Well, like you have the cafe ratings in California because like
what cafe, like Starbucks cafe?
No, that's what it's called. It's called like I forgot
Blue Bean Cafe.
It has to do with emissions, is what it has to do with the fuel emissions. So you have like starting in like 81.
Oh shit!
For example,
Here we go, guys. Here we go.
Let's say Dandelion over here or whatever his name is says, "I'm going to go and get I'm gonna go over here and buy a Corvette." And he's in Nebraska. Okay, he gets a 350 Chevrolet with a 4-barrel. Okay, you are in California. You buy the exact same car. You're getting a 305 with a 2-barrel on it out of a Caprice because of emissions.
So you're getting ripped the fuck off.
You're getting ripped the fuck off, and you paid the exact same amount for the same car.
That's some bullshit. That should be regulation on that, motherfuckers.
And what happened is it got to the point to where General Motors and them started lobbying because California was such dicks about everything that it spread throughout the entire country. Sometimes that can be positive, like right now West Virginia's got rid of food dyes.
I love that.
That could spread to the rest of the country.
Oh, I got a note on that one.
And
they're renaming that shit now.
What?
Anyways, you keep going.
But anyhow, that's what the cafe standards are, and they had changed regulations so much on. That's what all the electric car mandates are from. Is from that standard in California. It gets spread to the rest of the country.
Because we can just get a diesel little engine that goes 100 miles. It's fast. It's just as fast as a Model S, Plaid, 5 second 0 to 60. And it goes farther.
Well, I will tell you that what I think would really work in the market is someone like that who has a modified engine, who sells a kit that goes on your vehicle, whatever you're driving, gas, diesel, and they can modify it. That's going to work.
The ironic part, Dan, it's all aerodynamics. The engine's not modified.
Yeah, it's
literally aerodynamics.
Yeah,
dude.
it's all it's based on aerodynamics because since the 80s,
yeah, exactly, dude.
Boom!
Whoa! Literally.
You know what the
amazing.
You know what the golden era for aerodynamics was? The 30s.
No idea.
The 30s was because you had the crosser airflow. The crosser airflow with a big inline six. I'm talking like a 322 inline six would get in the the high 20s on fuel economy. And this is using 30s technology because of aerodynamics.
8,000-pound car.
Because of aerodynamics.
It's you can fit your whole family in it type shit. Or
the crosser airflow they say it could seat 6. Sometimes if you got the longer wheelbase one, you actually got 2 pop-up seats right here, and you could seat 3 across right here.
That'd be perfect for fucking moving illegals, dude.
Yeah, definitely. And but you had those aerodynamics, and then people rejected that car because it was ugly, so they rejected it. they're beautiful cars, but people back in that time thought they were ugly. So they ended up changing up. They never did anything radical until the 60s. They started dealing with aerodynamics again because starting in, I think it was in 69 on the Chevrolet C10s.
My favorite number.
The Chevrolet pickups, the square bodies from the 80s and stuff, that was the first truck to be designed in a wind tunnel. And it's actually, believe it or not, they're extremely aerodynamic.
Is everybody taking fucking notes here? Okay, is everybody taking fucking notes? Because I am, and I can't remember this tomorrow, but this is pretty interesting stuff.
And like, if you go to like the 80s, that's when aerodynamics went completely crazy, and it was all done by hand. Everything was sculpted by hand to get the aerodynamics down. So you had like your Ford Taurus was extremely aerodynamic, but the 88 Ford Thunderbird was like one of the most aerodynamic cars built during the 80s. The 87, 88 Thunderbirds, and the Cougars.
You lost me fucking 5 minutes ago, bro.
It all has to do with aerodynamics, because those cars with a V6 would get 32 miles to a gallon.
That's amazing.
And that's a full-size coupe.
Mm-hmm.
So, and even if you go back to the 70s on aerodynamics too, the 76 Plymouth Feather Duster, it was a aluminum. It sounds ridiculous, but it had an aluminum engine in it. All the inner structures of the doors, everything were made of aluminum. And because of weight savings, those things would get, mid to high 30s with a big inline six, like the size of what would be
That's crazy.
Which is like a 3.7 liter inline six.
Well, I'll tell you what, like, if this technology is really going to get out and it's going to get beyond like the big corporations and everything, it's just going to have to be open sourced. It has to be given away.
Well,
I mean, it really does.
I totally agree with that. And I think the innovation is like actually like crippled. I don't think they want innovation.
It's crippled clearly by emissions laws, mainly because a lot of times with
that's part of it.
A big part of it too is that now you got variable valve timing. You have to have fuel injection.
Oh God, nobody knows the fuck you're talking about, stuff. Dude. When you say that shit,
you have to have all of these.
99% of people don't know what the fuck you're talking about when you say it. Just be like, come on.
But I'm listing. I'm giving mechanical terms here. If people want to look it up, they can look it up. But most engines now, they're dual overhead cam, which means they're more complicated than they used to be. Used to, you had overhead valves and stuff, and overhead valve engines are like, they've been around since the early 1900s. They are pretty fuel efficient, and they're really hardy, and they last a long time. You can go out there and set an engine in a bucket of water, and go out there and in 50 years, go out there and pull it out of there and get it to run. Modern engines, you can't
do
because
that nowadays because they know there's no profit margin in there.
Well, everything is complicated now, and that the complications for emissions standards, because they don't care about fuel economy as much anymore. They care about emissions. And emissions, the thing about it is, there used to be a set standard.
It's a lie.
There used to be a set standard
it's bullshit.
Lie.
But there used to be an emissions. There's emission standards, and then there was what they call an MPG offset. Because how that works is that's why you had like Civics and stuff that didn't have as much emissions equipment on them back in the late 80s and stuff that would get 50 miles to a gallon.
Right.
And then
Justin drove one of those.
Yeah, and it had low emissions because of the MPG offset. So if a car gets 50 miles per gallon, it's obviously going to have less emissions than a car that gets 30 miles per gallon.
That should be like your intro sound.
Yeah, no shit, right? And that's your PBR moment. Or not PBR, your fucking PBS moment. Go fuck yourself. Speaking about PBS.
Yeah, they defunded PBS yesterday, too.
And what's the other one?
And NPR, which is the radio
network. They
network.
just dropped the P. That wasn't what it was.
BS.
They're just trying to call it like it is. Tell it like it is.
Yeah, that was a shit fucking show.
It used to be good. Like over a decade ago, they were more balanced. They got hardcore lefty.
And it don't really. And the thing about it is, it's not just as lefty. It's just that when somebody is literally trying to, it's like right now they're trying to cut back our spending, government spending. They cut away a bunch of goofy stuff. They had one that was paying for transgender treatments in the Middle East.
Wait, there's trannies in the Middle East? I thought they killed the gays.
That was something that they were trying. That was one of the things.
But they killed the gays, right?
exactly. Why
So
is
I'm
that?
confused.
I mean, they're gonna call it whatever they want to call it to wash it, right?
Yeah,
You can
so-
call it whatever fancy name you want.
So
I think they're provoking more war because these people there are probably like, "What the hell?"
that's
is
a part.
This?
That's part of it too.
Where's
because
our money?
because-
and our trannies.
because
we
what-
making money.
because right now the government establishment, how it's set up is, it's basically they'll create all these fake programs and they'll funnel money into causing wars, so that then they can go around and put money into rebuilding these places and then not actually rebuild them.
So if you're a fucking idiot and you didn't know that, well, then you're a fucking idiot. There you go. There's the explanation of what the hell is going on.
Well, I mean, it's always been this cloak and dagger. It's like there's smoke and mirrors, and we don't really know what's real. It's the art of war, and truly people don't know, and we have to learn how to uncondition all this stuff because we're all subject to this classism, which is a form of slavery. I mean, let's be honest.
That is
The
very
monetary system, the class-based system,
That is very
it's
true.
all slavery. And if you're born into a family with more money, you know, hey, there's families out there that have trillions. What does that even mean?
And that ain't even white privilege either. That's just privilege for being a human and being an asshole.
It's wrong to have that much disparity when there's...
And it's wrong not to be actually like coming to like you know, not nice about it, but like what am I looking for? Like, you know, just to be not an asshole and not trying to like put other people down or bring them down for what the fuck you have or whatever it may be. You should make fun of them for sure, but not like think you're better than them because we're all fucking humans anyway. So it's like it's kind of like.
Well, here's the thing. To me, it's like if technology's getting better, it gets cheaper. That's
Should
just
be.
the The more you grow a certain product, like a tomato, the more of them you grow, the cheaper it gets. The more you want to, get rid of it. I want to trade that for some bread, right?
Right.
So the guy that's making the bread feels the same way because he's got so much bread. He's like, I don't want bread. I want some tomatoes. So these things get cheaper the more you make them, and the less.
Supposedly.
Supply and demand.
Well, it's real. And then there's price floors, there's price ceilings imposed by the government, which are wrong because you have governments paying farmers to not harvest crops. And then that drives the price up because there's less tomatoes in the marketplace.
Well, it's kind of like, see, I'm from
It's a control thing for sure.
I'm from Oklahoma
Definitely
originally,
fucking control thing.
and in that area there's a lot of soybean growing over there. A lot of soybean, and
GMO soybean.
when they grow a lot of that,
Sure, dude.
100%.
you'll see hundreds of acres of soybean, and a lot of those farmers out there, when they have a really good crop year, you'll see it. There'll be a time in the usually when it comes about due, one of the fields will just be slashed and burned. They automatically just slash and burn it, or they do it with corn. They do it with all of those things, and
That's sad.
that's government subsidies, is
And
what
then
that
we have
is.
these fucking libtards. Oh, we need to feed the other part of the world, even though we have enough food. But whatever.
I mean, it's kind of like they do the same thing to dairy. Even they dump dairy if they have too much dairy and like a high demand of dairy, rather than what they could be doing with that is. And I'm not
Giving
I
away
am
for
not
free?
I'm not a hippie person that like loves to, be nice and things, but they could be using that to help with the feeding of the homeless and like stuff like that. In a way, they could be using the surplus to feed the homeless and help in be trying to fix that issue rather than waste it.
Yeah.
Instead of funneling a bunch of money, like California right now, they have $2 billion that's unaccounted for in the city of Los Angeles for taking
course.
care of homeless people.
I know
They do
why.
not know where it went. They don't know anything.
New scum. That's why I know why.
It was this Karen Bass, the mayor of
Bitch
Los
ass
Angeles.
bass. Fuck that bitch.
I mean-
Fucking asshole.
I mean, it's better than Beetlejuice, I guess. Remember Beetlejuice, Chicago?
Oh yes. That was crazy.
She looked like, actually, she didn't look. She looked like if Beetlejuice had an affair with Sherman Hemsley. You know Sherman Hemsley, the guy from
No, I don't know.
what's it called? The Jeffersons, the dad from the Jeffersons.
There we go. Now
Sherman
I know.
Hemsley.
Now I know.
She looked like Sherman Hemsley and
So
Beetlejuice's
that's fucking
love
fucked
child.
up. That's hilarious as shit.
Because like you could face swap Beetlejuice onto Sherman Hemsley and it would be her. I mean, not to be mean on somebody's appearance, but everyone was calling her Beetlejuice. I say she looks more like Sherman Hemsley's love child, Beetlejuice.
That is hilarious.
'Cause she even had the
going
receding
back to
hairline.
the waste stuff. So, like, obviously we're wasting a bunch of shit right now.
There's so much waste in general.
You know what's not wasting?
What?
My wallet. I don't waste the wallet.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
why is everybody else wasting shit? What are we? Where are we in this particular situation where this?
Well,
waste?
it's kind of like this too. For example, I'm not a big Ronald Reagan fan in general, but he always talked about trickle down economics. It does work for the most part. You cut everybody's taxes, they'll spend more, and it goes back into the economy naturally. And,
Right.
and if you get rid of the income tax, which is how the government worked up until I think it was Calvin Coolidge was trying to reverse everything. If you look at his policies and everything, but the last president that was truly just 100% no income tax. Everything is funded. The government funds itself.
right.
Which
that should be
because the government has its own oil leases and all that stuff, and
the
that's
government is his own entity in his own country. So fuck those people.
But what I'm saying is, had the government used to work to where if they had oil leases, they drilled their own oil and they funded their own shit. They didn't go up to people and say, "Hey,
Give me
hey,
$10.
I need
Give me
I need
$10.
$8,000 extra on top of what you paid on your income tax."
Yeah.
There was no income tax. There was no nothing. Everything was the government was self-funded, and then McKinley had the idea: let's start building national parks for our people. We have all this surplus of money. Let's build some national parks so the people can have something to do, make them happier. And that's one of. And then they started.
That
They
brings
started.
a tear to my eye right there.
They started building the national parks
Pretty
under
awesome.
McKinley, and then
Is that where like Yosemite and
yeah, they
what was
started
it?
under
It was like,
McKinley. McKinley was shot, and then
Big
Roosevelt
Ben.
Roosevelt expanded it a whole lot.
only
Oh,
the other side
shit.
say
Well,
that.
they say that the party switched, but what
I know
actually
people that say that.
what actually happened was you had this movement known in the late 1800s known as the Progressive Movement, the Republican Party, which is Theodore Roosevelt, and another extends on through William Howard Taft, which was the fat president there when always made jokes about falling into the bathtub and getting stuck. It's not a true story, but it's like it was created by propaganda trying to make him look bad by Theodore Roosevelt, who had split the ticket and gave it to a really evil progressive man who was the guy who reversed a lot of McKinley's stuff that he signed in, the Tariff Acts, everything was
This is
reversed.
why he won an award.
It was reversed under Woodrow Wilson. All that stuff was, and Woodrow Wilson's also the guy that created a lot of our language and stuff, where he cut down our
But he
language,
didn't say
simplified
English
it.
was the national language, did he?
No, but he simplified the language, and he was also a member of the KKK.
Well, that's fucked up.
Yeah, and he had a stroke towards the end of his last term, and his wife became president behind closed doors and was signed in all kinds of crazy shit. So
That's crazy.
So anyhow, and then you had people like
You talking about something funny here. This is making me depressed now.
then you had two more presidents after that, and those two guys
It made
are
me think something though.
the two presidents after that were classic Republicans, as in like you had people like who were like Chester A. Arthur, who fired every single person in the government, actually created a piece of legislation, got the Congress to push it through, and it fired almost every civil servant because they were so corrupted. He said, and then they went through and cleaned it out, and it was clean up until Teapot Dome scandal is what it's called, and it was under Warren G. Harding, and Harding really didn't know about the
Very
corruption.
fucking specific there.
He didn't know about the
Look
corruption.
this shit up if you don't believe it. If you don't believe him.
But that was under Harding, and Coolidge they were actually cut the government a whole lot. Like Coolidge had it was over like $4 billion when he was president, and they cut it down to like $250 million when he was government spending went down that much under
I
him.
hope we do that now. From
We had a
trillion to
he had a
200
surplus. He actually had a surplus of money when everything was done. He had the budget balanced and everything, and he was a one-term president.
Wow.
That was our last real Republican president. Was him. Eisenhower.
What year was that?
That was in the 20s. Hoover expanded government a whole lot during the Great Depression, and then you had Roosevelt, who made the government about 6 times its normal size. He quadrupled spending like every single year he was president.
Well, that sounds fucking familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he was also president for 4 terms.
Michael Obama did that.